Hey there, guys. Nolan and Jason here with DataPins.
Howdy.
Today is I smell spam, and so does Google. So I thought about this the other day. We talk about spam.
Yeah.
But I don't really think people understand what it is anymore. And there's some stuff that...
Especially because the definition has changed.
Yeah, and if you spam, you're not going to show up in rankings.
Right.
So the definition changed radically a year and a half ago, roughly right before ChatGPT and AI kind of entered in.
Right.
Google launched the helpful content update, and it radically changed the definition of spam. It radically enforced their previous definition of spam.
Yeah. Yet again, Google decided they wanted something different, told us vaguely what they wanted, and hemmed and hawed about it for 3 or 4 years before they finally enforced it.
Yeah, I can't imagine what they have to do, 1 trillion lines of code to make it work. And so a lot of code going in, a lot of stuff happening. And
I shouldn't say hemmed and hawed. They worked on it for 3 or 4
They
years.
pointed a heavy finger and said, you need to make content for the user, not for Google.
Right.
And the nuance of that is hard to accept for a spammer.
Right.
Very difficult. So some guy called me the other day and said, well, we're looking at getting stuff. We handle all of our own SEO in here, all of our blogging and all of that. And we're looking at getting DataPins. I'm like, well, it really doesn't work that way. And blogging is spam by nature at this point. And so someone acting like they're pretty slick because they asked ChatGPT to make a blog, guarantee you that almost all of that is spam.
Right.
So that is like a key takeaway. And I had somebody else on a different call say, well, answer me this, Nolan. Everybody in ranking has blogs in my major market. And so this guy was in a very large market.
Yeah.
Over 1 million people in a much larger metro, let's say well over 5 million. And because somebody shows up in ranking, what do you call it? It's a logical fallacy.
Right.
So because people in ranking have blogs doesn't mean that the blogs got them in ranking. It's a very critical error on the part of that person. So someone new or not in ranking, looking at it, because the blog is one of the only things they know how to do that they think they could do, they're so late to the game.
Yeah. Because, I mean, let's be honest, blogging is easy.
Right. So
blogging
blogging's
is
easy.
Get some writer to write some crap. That's all it is.
They don't do that. They're like, they're much better than that, Jason. They get AI and ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah, that makes it so much better.
To write even more crap.
Yeah.
And they're like, well.
Crap fester.
I did this. And the guy got on the phone was a salesperson, and the business owner wasn't standing down on his own 2 feet and entered in a guy that had no equity stake in it. And I believe that people do this to validate their own position because they really don't want to move forward or pay for any services.
Right.
I know that's why it happens. So the guy got on and said, well, people in top ranking have blogs. No, people in top ranking have been around for a long time, have lots of signals of experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And Google is allowing them to stay in ranking for now despite the blogs.
Yeah. That's a very important distinction. The blogs, if they were doing that long and far enough back, actually may have contributed to their signaling and may have helped them get ranking 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
But now it's weighing them down, and either Google has not yet decided to drop the hammer on them, or more likely, Google doesn't have anybody else in the market doing better.
Right. With all of the 1,000 things they judge and grade compared to everyone else in the market, even though these blogs are there, they still have better experience, expertise, authority, and trust.
Right.
And so they're like, well, we can't go, eviscerate and burn all things that existed before because we turned the switch on helpful content a year and a half ago because there's not enough other people to take that place or that has started doing this yet.
Right.
So almost all people out there, and Jason will tell you too, just I don't get on Twitter, but the industry is so confused. We're not confused. We built DataPins, and we had conversations about the problem with content being spammy or bad. We used to talk about content just being bad. years ago. And
yeah. For years, we were talking all this content's contrived. We know it doesn't get read. At some point, Google's not going to want this anymore.
So instead of looking
we didn't know when that was going to happen.
Instead of looking at it like a spammer who's like, well, by God, I wrote good content with a human and it passed the Copyscape stuff, or with ChatGPT and it's good content. No, you contrived content. And we contrive content to this day a little bit because the algorithm still needs to know what the services are. But we're very careful about it and we don't go overboard. And we quit blogging for the most part. We'll have a few blogs just for some inbound links or something, just a couple, just a few. Yeah. That's a whole different thing on linking being spam.
Like in the nature of like press release kind of stuff.
Right. Just a place to have something land on. But if you'll go do a SEMrush report on your site or these guys up in ranking that this guy was pointing out, you'll find that almost all of the blogs never get a view at all.
Right.
And most of the people in these markets have already actually been penalized.
Yeah.
But when you're talking a market this big, huge players, those other algorithmic factors are helping support them to continue to stay in ranking despite the fact that they have these dirty blog contents that's on there by the hundreds usually.
If their SEO person is on the ball, and they're probably not, but if they are seeing they're probably getting alerts on a weekly basis from Google Search Console warning of de-indexed pages.
Right.
And they're probably freaking out, wondering why it's happening.
Right.
And they're probably drawing the wrong conclusion on top of everything else.
So what de-indexed pages means is that you can choose to host your website and have 1,000 blogs, but Google's sick of your crud. And they don't want to pay to host the 1,000 pages on server space. It costs some money. And they've taken hundreds of them off already. And if you go look at them and you actually just remove the trash that never gets viewed anyway, the spammer will feel loss. They think more is better because they are going to...
And they hate removing pages.
And they hate removing a page. And so they should actually go in and just run a report and say, okay, out of the 1,000 blogs, 900 of them never get viewed and need to be removed immediately. Actually, 404 break them, not 301 redirect them per Google. Because it's the 404 is like, hey, we broke this nasty stuff off.
Yeah.
Please view it as that instead of, hey, this is pretty good stuff. We're going to redirect it to the homepage. That's the wrong way to do it because they're going to look at it and go, okay, finally, we'd already removed some of these and we're going to take these off and take them off our servers because, yes, indeed, it was trash.
Yeah.
And so most people aren't doing this. They also look at third-party metrics like domain authority and slam links out of the country. Like somebody in India will slam in a bunch of links and the whole structure of all the branded signaling around this stuff, it's just trying to spam Google out or getting phony addresses. This is also spam. Trying to keyword stuff your name of your company. The blogging is just one of the most – it's stupid at this point.
Yeah. And it should be noted that spam can be a page that you think – like you said it yourself a minute ago, this is good content. I wrote it. I had a person write this or whatever. That doesn't mean it's not spam. And even if you think it's informative – that doesn't mean it's not spam.
It may not be what Google thinks you're supposed to do for being informative, for information from your perspective. So
yeah, we've made this point before. You as a local business are not supposed to replace a manufacturer website or Wikipedia or
news,
like an industry news
magazine
or something like that. You're supposed to provide the basic idea of the services you provide, and then where you've performed the services.
Validation of those services, things like a data pin, of course. But like if you're going in trying to say 3 reasons to do this, or if a contractor is saying 92-year-old roofer still gets on the roof, or that's something for the news station.
Yeah.
So and then or if you're going in depth on product, you might talk about a Brava barrel tile or a Navian tankless water heater or an M30 Wi-Fi thermostat because you did a repair, a replacement, performed an installation. So those,
But you don't need a 5,000 word article on the difference between tankless and traditional water heaters.
Right.
That's not your
or
role.
the energy savings of, I mean, to go into detail, if somebody wants an energy saving HVAC system, you can say that you perform that, have that service, but to go into detail about the nuance of it,
Yeah, that is not your place.
that's not your place. And then if you start trying to do all of these things and then throw up content like this through a blog, you're basically just giving a bunch of trash content that the person trying to find you did not want to see.
Right.
So people talk about it, and it's like you're supposed to show services, installations, repairs, replacements, and where they happen, what they did. Now, you can go into the nuance of the type of stuff because somebody might need something obscure like an M30 Wi-Fi thermostat.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, we do that, and then this will expand properly. It's like we'll repair that, we'll install that, we'll do a coil cleaning, we'll do a GAF HD Timberline shingle or a type of TPO or type of tree lighting or whatever it is. So that sort of stuff is great content, but if you start trying to, I guess, posture or fabricate content through blogs and other things to push towards Google to think you're going to show up city pages, too many of them, stuff like that.
There's a big difference between an article about why a Wi-Fi thermostat is good and a 3-sentence pin saying, I installed this Wi-Fi thermostat.
Right.
And believe it or not, the 3 lines in the pin, in a data pin, is much, much better than 800 words talking about how great Wi-Fi thermostats are.
You could have a one sentence. We replaced a Linux M30 Wi-Fi thermostat and then tag a geo-coordinate with some photos that's extremely relevant to user intent, to user search. Now, when somebody says something like, 5 reasons to service your HVAC system in the fall in Dallas, Texas, that's straight up trash spam.
Yeah, that's obvious spam to everybody.
And versions of it around it. Even if you took the blog and talked about the M30 Wi-Fi thermostat, it's still spam because then you wrote hundreds of words. You didn't necessarily perform the service. It's not good content.
Right.
It might be slightly better, but it's meant to game the search engine. You're supposed to say, hey, I'm a contractor. I do business here. Here's a great website getting added to regularly with things like DataPins and the nuance of the entity bucket of keywords in my category. And we're not throwing in links out of the country all the time. We're not throwing in blogs that nobody wants to read. When somebody lands on my web presence on the map or on the website, they're going to have a great user experience. It's going to match user intent of installation, repair, contractor.
Yeah. Finding a local service provider.
Right. And then validating that brand and what happens there, and that signaling is non-spammy. And if you look at it from that perspective, and then you go to the website that has hundreds of blog entries, never really gets any clean content about what you're doing, and you try to throw in reviews, which are fine, but you basically have a spammed out website or a website that doesn't get anything happening on it. In both cases are poor user experiences. And then the one-sided thing of I've got Google reviews.
Yeah.
And I've got either a neglected web effort and branded signaling effort, or I've got a spammed web effort and branded signaling effort being spammed.
And almost everybody fits in one of those 2 categories.
And
either neglect or spam.
95% do.
Yeah.
And then the guys that were up there big at the top of search ranking that we were talking about that had hundreds of blogs, they were tuned in at one time.
Yeah.
And they got up in ranking, and now they're not tuned in, and they're destined to fall eventually if they don't change. These are the people that tend to respect marketing and will probably figure it out.
Yeah, that's the thing. If they did the work and got up there once, they will act before it drops too much.
Or when it drops.
Usually.
Yeah.
Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll be so married to their former methods that they'll crash to nothing.
Somebody with 50 trucks on the road, though, 100 trucks, 25 trucks on the road, they're going to fight for that marketing. The guys that are the spammers that want a negative trip the future for no reason. We always say that people are big because they're up there, not up there because they're big. So those guys at one point in time were nobody.
Yeah.
Most of them before Google existed.
Right.
And I want to talk about Google just for a quick second. We watch the metrics of this stuff. Yes, children are searching on TikTok now as a search engine.
Yeah.
But TikTok's not a local search engine.
Right.
Not yet anyway. And people that have money and homes and use Contractors home services,
+1.
they are those people are not doing anything but still getting on Google, Bing, and a little bit of AI search, but not much of it.
Yeah.
And if AI search derives all their content from search algorithms, so it doesn't really matter. If you're in Google and Bing, you're on AI search.
Yeah. Don't ever let anybody tell you, well, we're going to optimize you for AI search. There's really no such thing. Optimizing for AI search is just regular search optimization. There's no extra box we check for AI on that.
But the word is optimize or search engine optimization or SEO, it's signals of your brand. Google had an acronym called Experience, Expertise, Authority, and Trust. And you're trying to champion digital branded signaling, not spam the living hell out of everybody. So when people call up and they miss this stuff over, I do my blogging. I'm
amazing.
I've got it. Like, no. I left that conversation. I said, well, clearly you don't want to have any. You're doing that internally. I said, oh, yeah. You know, when I talk about it, when I think about it too, you know, it's ridiculous, really. If somebody is an HVAC, plumber, roofer, you know, tree lighting, tree trimming, tree disease, pest control, whatever they're doing out in the field, you know, there's most people get professional services and help.
Right.
You know, I told you yesterday I took my daughter. I wish somebody had done this with me. I took her to a financial advisor because she's very young and making money on YouTube.
Yeah.
She's making good money. And I took her to meet someone. I didn't tell her, hey, you know, here's how to log on to a Schwab account and just start picking stuff.
Yeah, just do it yourself. You can figure it out.
Nor does the HVAC or the plumber, not typically does someone say, well, forget that professional service.
Right.
I'll just do it myself. Let's call Home Depot, drop a unit out there, and, you know, well, what about the tonnage and all? I don't, you know, just do it. Just do it. So a contractor that goes and says, I'm going to do this stuff, and I've figured out stuff, and they feel personally an ego boost out of going on to ChatGPT and creating spam pages.
Yeah. They're like, hey, look what I did.
And they inadvertently get a little bit of traffic because they're up and trying something. They get a tiny bit, but they don't really accomplish goal. In fact, somebody wouldn't call, really, frankly.
Right.
If they were dominant as all get out, they're searching.
Yeah,
Really.
that's the thing. When you call us and you're saying, well, I do all my stuff internally, it's like, then why did you call?
Why did they call? I mean, it is really true.
You're missing something. You know it already.
They think we're going to pimp me out.
Let's put some of our magic dust on it.
Yeah,
and
somebody's going to throw like a dirty wad of 100 ones at us and go, here, you web, you dirty web geek. What was that from? As Good as It Gets. It was Jack Nicholson. Which one's the golfer? Which one's the Jack Nicklaus or Nicholson?
Nicholson is the actor.
Jack Nicholson is, I think it was As Good as It Gets, and Helen Hunt or something.
Helen Hunt and Greg Kinnear. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he was going to get a dirty wad of money from his dad or
Yeah.
something, handing him a dirty wad of money. But that's kind of like, you know, here's your people call up and they're
Here's
like,
your blood money.
Here's your money. Do this thing. But we really work hard to pull a whole brand together and then send proper digital branded signaling out. DataPins is a massive part of it, but not the only thing.
Yeah.
And DataPins can't fix trash spam stuff, which is 95% of what's out there.
Yeah. If you've got a trashed out, spammed out website and you add DataPins to it, DataPins might help a little bit, but it can't fix it because it's just piling more on what's already there. And Google's probably already decided that they don't want to look at you.
We've got this good information on the side, but if they enter into this, you know, this trashed out, spammed out website, they're going to have a poor user experience at a high rate.
Right.
They might find some data pins, but they might find all this other trash.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't fix that sort of stuff. And then on a long-term basis, you want this thing just clicking and going. And I think it's ridiculous to think that somebody doesn't need not only professional services and tools that somebody has that are excellent, like DataPins, but a professional consultant service helping.
Right.
Most of these guys in ranking have respect for this. The guys that are above you that are there, they probably got big. 95% of the time they weren't there before. They didn't have 50
Everybody
trucks.
started somewhere. Nobody starts as the top supplier in their area for a service.
I don't know why people think that. If you look at the people top in Google ranking, you're like, and you don't correlate that they're large because they're in the top of Google.
Right.
You're like, oh, well, they're just in the top of Google. No, they send out proper digital branded signaling at some time.
Yeah.
Most of these guys are older, and you could come in and do better, but people don't fight against it. So they come in. Most of these guys will wise up eventually. They're not going to let their business go down, but we get them all the time. I get guys, by the way, all the time. I got one that I have in mind, but he had 14 trucks on the road.
Yeah.
He began to spam, and part of the spam was more simple than you think. He just tried to expand. So he began to expand out of a pretty decent size growing market in Texas. But Texas is a large state, of course. And so then he goes out to another large metro and another large metro. Right. And Google verifies an address. And he's like, well, I verified the address. And Google said it was okay. Google will verify the address.
Verification is not ranking.
But then treats you accordingly.
Right.
If the address was bad, if it became regional. So this guy became regional.
Right.
AKA no longer local. And you may think it's good. And as they got addresses, he literally went from 14 trucks to 4. And when you talk about the nuance of spam and what Google wants, and you have no respect for it, and you don't think you need professional services. In fact, our clients are told to call me directly if they have an address change. It's critical. So a guy goes out and says, well, I'm going to go from this, I'm going to add Austin. I'm going to add Fort Worth. I'm going to add Houston. Let's go. And then they just start adding them and like, we got addresses verified, but no one with any brains about what Google wants, no professional advice and consulting done.
Yeah.
And
Google will not tell you, oh, don't try to expand to another town. They'll say, okay, does that address look okay? Okay, fine, you're verified. That's as far as that will go. But the people who verify stuff on GBP are not the same people who are working on the search algorithm and deciding what to show.
Right.
And so they will not tell you, no, you have to be local. Don't go across the state. But we see the result of people trying to do that. And if you try to go across the state, they say, oh, well, we're not sure where he is, and he's not a local provider, so we don't like him anymore.
Google hooks up local contractors to local searchers.
Right.
And it used to be called Google Local.
Yeah.
It's now called Google Business Profile, Google My Business, Google Places. But it literally, they show local people to local contractors. So frequent do I see people get big and then want more. And then when they expand, they do it improperly and don't want to spend one dime, not one cent.
They just we want to add. We're in Fort Worth now. We want to add Austin to that site. So just put Fort Worth and Austin.
Just do it
up there.
And
it's like, you're screwed if you do that.
We see probably every 6 months we have somebody move into the country or out of state.
Yeah,
because they made so much money. And just say, hey, we moved, do it again. And we'll have somebody move to the middle of nowhere or out in unincorporated county, and their business will die. Now, in this case, this guy probably should have picked a location or two and then put up a new website that was for that location. The same brand could have had a new website so that the local person had a local experience on that verified account.
Right.
And now that person is recovering from 4 trucks and adding more back on, and actually just gave us a referral the other day.
Nice.
Which was great, and I would assume he's recovering. I haven't spoken to him. He's been with us about 6, 7, 8 months now or something.
Okay.
Year. I don't know how long, but he's recovering nicely enough to give us a referral. You guys don't know that, but that's
there is a way to
expand
properly. Yeah. There is a way to move into a new market.
Yeah.
We know how. But most people do it wrong.
There's tons of little things that people do wrong, tons of little things that you do that spam. And spam is anything that basically is against Google Webmaster Guidelines or things that people that are professional services that do this for a living know they don't like. There's the type of address. There's whether a competitive person in the same exact industry, if you're an HVAC company or a plumber or whatever, and there's another one next door and you move next door, could be a problem.
Yep.
Did you get a phony address? Did you justify your phony address? Well, I can go have tea in there and check my mail behind the receptionist desk and even get an office on the hourly.
Yeah. If at any point you find yourself
justifying
or arguing with the rules, you need to stop because you've heard the phrase, you can't fight City Hall.
Yeah,
Google is worse because Google owns the whole platform. They have nobody outside of them telling them what they can do. And so if they say this is how it is, that's how it is. And no argument from you or us or anybody else will affect
I have an LLC. This is legitimate. They verified it, da-da-da-da-da. And like people will start telling us like we can call Google and change the rules. And it's like all they're doing is just trying to echo back and get validation of the mistakes they're making and wondering why it isn't working. Most of the time when people add addresses that are verified, they absolutely jack up everything now, at least in today's climate.
I can't think of one in the last 4 years.
When they add them,
if they came to us and said it was done, they had already done it. They didn't ask us for our advice first.
Right.
I can't think of one person who did it correctly.
Yeah, so lots of points lots of things to follow. On the flip side of this, guys, you use things like DataPins. So I don't want to go into all of it right now. DataPins is fabulous. You get proper digital signaling. You get into the right location. You champion the brand over and over again without cheating or violating their rules and provide a good user experience. You'll expand content more than you ever thought possible. You'll have hordes and hordes of keywords. DataPins is fabulous for half of all keywords and the other half of all keywords. The reason I say it like that is because we're obviously going to help you with primary keywords.
Right.
But you pretty much can't get the other keywords.
If you don't have something like DataPins, you're leaving half the money on the table.
Yeah. So I used M30 Wi-Fi thermostat as an example, or coil cleaning, capacitor replacement, types and brands, and all that stuff. HVAC repair or AC repair, furnace repair, replacement, all those things, like 10 or 12 keywords might make up half of all search. But that really weird nuanced stuff, the type of coolant recharge and everything else, that's half of all the other, and it might be 1,000 or 2,000 keywords.
Yeah, it literally can be thousands of keywords.
And you really can't get that without cheating unless you're using a pin. The technical version of what occurred on a daily basis is the best digital branded signaling you can have. That's why we developed DataPins.
Yep.
And so there's lots of cool ways to do stuff, but while using it, you can't jack up your addresses, lob up phony addresses, move out to the country, just add P.O. boxes, keyword stuff, your GBPs, start throwing blogs up on the side because you got on the bandwagon 10 years too late. I mean, you just can't do any of that stuff and expect it to go well, nor can you ignore entirely professional services, which I don't know why people do in this particular field. But
wouldn't it be weird if we kept a plumber on staff for our office?
It'd be weird. Wouldn't it
just to wait until, hey, could you go plunge the toilet?
Wouldn't it be weird if we picked somebody in here that seemed halfway intelligent and said, you're the new accountant?
Yeah.
Get on QuickBooks.
I've never done that. Well, you're doing it now.
You're doing it now. And I heard about this deduction, so get on it. And that's exactly what.
The feds are at your door 3 days later.
I mean, it has gotten more difficult, not less difficult, to the point that we had to start a freaking software company, proprietary software, spend almost $2 million now to make sure that we're up to speed on everything, and then also do all the other fundamental SEO items, essentials, and do them the best we can and do everything else the best we can. It's gotten more complicated. And then somehow, all of a sudden, there's this renaissance period of people showing up literally 5 to 10 years late, plugging into AI to get trash content.
Well, that's what it is. It's AI made it even easier. You don't even have to hire a writer.
When it got easier.
You just go to ChatGPT and say, give me 600 words about tile roof.
Yeah.
And spits it out. I had a client call me one day.
He just described spam, by the way.
Call me it was a couple of years ago, and he said, "Oh, I've been using ChatGPT. I write my own blogs. I go to ChatGPT and I say, I need 10 blog ideas for an HVAC website. And it gives me a list of 10. And I say, write me 500 words on number 3. And it gives me that. And I'm like, you better stop.
Yeah.
I was just like, stop what you're doing. You are going to destroy
the
yourself.
blog stuff's easy. Just go to, run a SEMrush report. You can get in your Google console. If there's no activity on those blogs, they're trash.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then if they start...
And even if you do see some traffic on a blog, don't assume that traffic has translated to business. Every once in a while, a weird blog will get ranking for some reason. You hit something.
The kangaroo mouse.
Yeah, the kangaroo mouse thing.
What animal can live the longest without water? And back in the day, this was okay.
Yeah.
But we had a company that did water treatment.
Yeah, water purification.
Yeah, purification, water treatment. And that ad that blog got viewed thousands of times a day, maybe.
Yeah, it had ridiculous amounts of traffic.
But it had zero bearing on getting any business for the individual. Now, back in the day, that would have provided something, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But if you did that today, then they don't care that you have third-party, just auxiliary traffic that doesn't help you. In fact, it might penalize you.
Yeah, because they've gotten much better at user intent. They're not going to show that article to someone looking for water purification systems, but they will show it to a 10-year-old kid looking up that information for a school, term report or something.
Right. Yeah. So it changes. You need help. We're here for it. We've done it forever. It's been 15 years of digital marketing agencies. I think about 6 years with DataPins, right? So,
we are going on 6 years.
I think it's getting close to
That's
6
crazy.
years. Yeah. So DataPins is fabulous. And when all the algorithmic stuff finally got enforced that Google had been warning about, DataPins looks like a shining star.
Yeah, over the years, DataPins became better even without us improving it.
Right.
But then we also improved it. So
I'll sum up a couple of things, but it's almost impossible for y'all to release content that's not trash. If you think to contrive content is trash almost all the time.
Yeah.
So if you validate a job and show the technical version, what happened in unique photos and a geocoordinate wrapped in schema, and then you embellish a page of water heaters or HVAC systems or whatever it is, then that is great content that's congruent with user intent and search locally. And if all the other components of essential SEO are tended to, instead of just thrown to the wind and somebody trying to pimp out your, it doesn't, everything's got to sink in, If you do that, you got a fabulous digital signaling, you're so far ahead of the curve, and you can actually move into ranking right now, this moment in time, and bump those people that are screwing up.
Yeah, because those people that have been sitting up there and ranking for a long time, like I said, they've got reports, if they would look at them, showing that bad things are happening.
Yeah.
But most of them don't know it yet, and that's an opportunity for you to show Google something better.
We've talked to so many of them. We cull it out like the deer population. Those somebody comes to us with 500 pages, 450 of them are gone, not in a way. And then everybody's like, oh my God, no, it's 450 pages literally not viewed, penalizing and hurting that site.
It's like these have no value. No one has ever looked at them.
And then you come back and start adding proper content, digital branded signaling, and you have a clean brand syncing everything up, and it starts popping. Google's like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good user experience. This is good user intent. If they come on this site, there's no trash anywhere.
Yeah.
If we get directed to this page or that page, it shows all their jobs and the embellishment of the jobs that increase the keyword bucket or the entity category. So if you're into that page about that type of repair or replacement or this service, and then you start showing the nuance of all of it, it actually coincides with user search, and they have a great experience.
Right.
So, guys, if you need help, call us. We're easy to speak with. Like and subscribe. You got questions, ask them. You can call us. You can DM us. You can text us. Any way you want to get in touch, email us. And we can evaluate stuff pretty quickly, answer questions pretty quickly. If you've gone through all this stuff, you understand more than almost anybody out there.
Yeah.
We'll see you.
Take it easy.